What's up, everybody? Welcome to another awesome episode of Button Masters, the podcast about video games and video game news.
This is episode 7.
Yeah, we're a bit sweaty. We don't have makeup on. Scheduling has made it really a bit difficult. I'm Chris.
I'm Connor.
And we'll be guiding you through the experience today. And first off, we have some housekeeping notes. But today we're going to talk a little bit about... A bit about some news stories.
Some good news stories.
Our topic of the show is sort of like the shifting media from the giant video game review sites to YouTube and YouTubers.
And more than that, the reception to that among gamers.
Yeah, and we'll definitely talk about that a bit. But the housekeeping notes, let's get to them.
First thing first, elephant in the room. We missed last week.
Absolutely. We missed an episode last week. I was out of town.
So was I.
I apologize for not letting you guys know by anyway.
Me too.
That's on us. And we'll try to rectify that in the future. I was in Brooklyn on a shoot, and
I was in Baltimore helping my brother with college.
Yeah, I had to wake up at 6 a.m. and there was just no time to do anything. So sorry about that. We'll try to be punctual and let you guys know if we miss anything. Otherwise, this podcast does release every Monday on YouTube and on iTunes and whatever podcast app that you use. There's
SoundCloud,
so many now.
Try for Spotify eventually.
Spotify has like a really complicated review process.
Never mind. Never do Spotify.
Yeah. Maybe the Google Play Store. We'll see.
Ideas for down the road.
Yeah. Who knows? Anyway, that's the housekeeping notes, so let's get right into it. Connor, what have you been playing today,
this week? Aside from, of course, the usual Titanfall 2, of which I had probably the best match I've had in months, and that's saying something considering I play it almost every day.
So what made the match so good?
It was just the perfect combination of stuff. It was the perfect combination of momentum, of the combat, of going around. There was never a moment where I was out of the action, and I had managed to do some things in the game, just, through the execution of moves and whatnot, that I hadn't done either in a while or hadn't done before, and the end of it just felt like coming out of a great action movie, and I just stepped away from it and said, well, I can't top that. That felt good. So that was a good game of Titanfall 2 last night, and I still recommend everybody who hasn't bought it absolutely should. You're wrong if you don't.
It's definitely on my you gotta try this list. But so many other games are. I'm getting a little terrified of how big this list is getting.
It is inevitable. Just such is the nature of the beast. You can't buy everything. You can't even rent everything.
What else have you been playing, dude?
Beyond that, I actually picked up For Honor earlier last week. Quite a fun game. There are some issues. I had my eye on it For Honor for quite some time, but if I had to complain about anything, it would probably be that, aside from the obvious adjustment in the control scheme, because it's not just, you mash buttons and stuff happens. No, you have to choose your direction. You have to know where you're coming from, over, under, left, right, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, there's a huge adjustment to that, because what other game controls like that, aside from your typical Mortal Kombat style side-scrolling fighting game?
Yeah, it's the closest to a fighting game, but it's
also a brawler. It's its own thing, and that takes some getting used to. Also, in the campaign, it feels like I'm getting cheesed a lot, so sooner or later I'll probably just switch right over to multiplayer, play as samurai and knights and kill things, and I'll feel good about that.
Question, have you tried the duels yet, or did the campaign give you any duels?
The campaign does give you duels a lot,
because a lot of fans,
like some of them are cheesy.
A lot of the fans have said that the duels are sort of like the best way to play For Honor.
Oh yeah, but I'm sure they're much better against an actual opponent and not an AI opponent who's always going to hit all their button presses and manage to get everything out without messing anything up.
Definitely do try the online duels, because from what I've seen, it gets really intense, which like gets you a lot of fun. From what I played from For Honor, the main game mode that they advertised really wasn't doing it for me, because it was really easy to sort of kill you by
teaming up,
by either teaming up or by pushing you off a cliff or into spikes or something like that.
Yeah.
Which made it frustrating because it's like,
There's no skill in that.
yeah, with the sort of fighting game mentality of it, sort of rob you of that with some like almost RNG elements.
No, please don't.
Yeah.
No, please don't do that.
Yeah, that wasn't for me. So after the beta, I was just like, I'm good.
Yeah, whatever. Finally, this week, I played the Destiny 2 beta. I picked it up last night.
Mhm.
I just felt like Destiny 2 was worth a look at the very least. And my thoughts on it can be summed up as, meh. You know, it's the same thing as the first game. They've added a few new wrinkles. It's meh.
Destiny 1.5.
More or less, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly how I would describe it. You know, there's a few things that they've changed, but like they've added a way to do abilities, and the weapon loadout system has changed.
But Connor, they have a 10-year plan.
So does EA and Star Wars. That still doesn't give me any confidence at all.
It's always worrisome when
We have a
you say
10-year
we
plan.
have a 10-year plan before the game launches, and it's like, you got lucky.
You have a lot of content, but you're releasing it over a decade.
That
You're dumb.
and like also, how are you so confident that your game will catch fire?
Because it's Bungie, and Bungie always makes great games, right?
Yeah,
Right?
I don't know. It just I always feel better, even with like esports and stuff, when a game comes out, then people are like, dude, we need that esports. And then, who made it is like, oh, okay.
Okay, we'll do
Let's
that.
do it.
We'll make lots of money.
Like, even somebody like Blizzard is trying to push Overwatch into esports, and people are like, it's confusing to watch because,
It
like,
is.
a lot of Overwatch is not knowing where the people are.
Yeah.
And watching Overwatch in third person is super weird.
Mm-hmm.
Super weird.
You need like a spectator camera so you can always know where everybody is.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They do that, and it's super weird because it has much less chaos and action from a third point of view. Because
That's
it's
true.
just like a bunch of tiny things like shooting at each other.
No, but I mean like football stadium style camera views where it's like it tracks particular players for a second and then it just
Right.
cuts to them during the action.
Yeah, I guess that's like for me, like games like Rocket League have a much better advantage because it's like
Oh yes, just by the nature of
easy
the
and
beast.
clear to see everything. Anyway, that's a whole separate rant.
Yep.
Anything else you've been playing?
Not really. That's about it for this week. What have you been playing this week, Chris?
For me, I tried Orcs Must Die because it went free on PS4.
I just love the name. Orcs Must Die.
I believe that game was developed by the Rooster Teeth folks.
I think they had a hand in it. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's not exclusively them, but I think they might have helped with it
Yeah,
somehow.
yeah, I think you're right. If we're wrong, then feel free to correct us in the comments. Oh God, what did I just do? I just opened the floodgates.
Yeah.
Anyway, I played a little bit of it. I got through the sort of prologue, which is sort of like 10 like tutorial missions, and then I played one level, and it's what's fun about it is it sort of takes the Overwatch characters with abilities and stuff and then mashes them up with some tower defense action. So like you have traps that you
That's
can lay
fun.
out depending on your environment. So like the first mission is just a square room because it's like teaching you the basics, and it's like, oh, lay out some floor traps. But then like once you get on and on, like sometimes you can't do floor traps because like the floor isn't solid. So then you have to do like ceiling traps or wall traps and like you also have like barricades that you can like use to sort of block enemies from going down one path so that they all have to go the other path so that you can focus your traps on that rather than having them split into two lanes and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of strategy there. It sort of feels like it reminds me a lot of Dungeon Defenders, which is like
Heard of it. Never
really
played
fun. You should. It's free. The second one. But instead of like towers, you have traps, and it's really fun because like it's not like an enemy just walks over the spikes and gets continually damaged. Like, an enemy walks over the spikes and the spikes extend 10 feet up and slice through him, and that's really fun to see those kinds of animations, or like the ceiling traps like falls down and pummels, like squishes the enemy, like those are really fun and feel really satisfying. Also, all the traps have cooldowns, which is really interesting because that means that you can't,
it's like you can't spam them the way that
like they sort of just activate automatically upon like being in range of the enemy,
right.
But because they have like a cooldown, you can't just
do like a ring of traps in one area.
You could, but it's not effective.
No.
Because all the traps are going to set off, and then like the first group of enemies is going to get annihilated. But then while the cooldown is happening, like a lot of the troops
2, 3, 4, 5, and 9 are
will come through, and you're going to have to shoot them down. So like it is much better to spread the traps out, which is really cool because it sort of forces you to go, all right, that corner of the map, they're gonna be turning around that corner for a little while. So if I add the slow down trap over there, and then I throw some spikes in there, that will be cool. So it's really fun. Like it has a lot of variety of thinking about things. So I've been having fun with that, but I haven't delved deep enough to where it hits you that this is a free-to-play game and it's gonna be like, hey, do you want to give us some money? Nudge, 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 nudge. You know. So I don't know.
Just like that.
I don't know how hard of a hit that is to my chin. So I'll report back on that. So, but it's free.
Keep us posted.
It's free, so feel free to try it on PS4. The other game I've been playing. Oh boy. Let me give you a little story. So I come home, I'm chilling around, I'm booting up my PlayStation, and I'm hearing a little buzz about some update on this particular game called No Man's Sky, and I go, oh, that's interesting. I haven't jumped into that in a while, so I don't do anything. I'm just like, I'll just download it. So I open the game and it pops in the update. And it starts downloading, and the update file is actually pretty large, relatively speaking. So I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. I wonder what's new." And I've been meaning to try the vehicles update for a while because I bought the game, so I'm like, "There's free updates. I should jump back in." And I jumped back in, and I played it for a bit. I must say, like, there's potential with the updates. I'll give it that. And I never really truly hated No Man's Sky. I had some decent fun with it. I think I put like 20 hours into that game when it first came out. Yeah, I know. It's rough, but the thing that's frustrating about it is it's really hard to obtain elements. And I do like the base building part of it and the vehicles part of it. That's really fun.
Base building.
Yeah. One of the updates did base building and the other one did vehicles, because like it was really stupid to walk around a planet-sized planet on foot, where it's like, well, I can't walk too far because I have to return to my spaceship, so every step I take is a step I have to track back. So now with vehicles, that's a little bit easier, but the problem is because they added like more rare elements, and it's kind of like it adds almost an RNG element to it, where it's like, well, I could try this planet and maybe I could try this galaxy and maybe it has that element. And just finding the specific thing that you need to build your thing is frustrating because it's hard to do, and there's not like really, there's not like an easy, straightforward path to do it. Which is frustrating because like in Minecraft, when it's like, oh, I need, I don't know, stone to do this, you just go, oh, I'll just dig in the ground for a while and I'll get it eventually. Whereas in No Man's Sky, it's like, oh, I need Feridium or something, bunch of letters, I don't know, Feridium or something. It will be called something stupid like that. Then it's like, all right, let's hop into the spaceship. Let's exit the planet. Let's scan like 6 different planets. Maybe one of them will have it. Oh, look, that one has it. Thank God. All right, now I have to warp to it. That takes like a minute of real time. All right, now I land. All right, now I have to scan the planet again once I'm on foot to try to find a thing. All right, it's over there. All right, I have to walk over there. That takes like 2 minutes of real time. All right, then I have to mine it. all right, then my inventory's full because I've been carrying around a bunch of other rare shit that I don't want to drop just in case. So it's like, all right, I gotta remove something. Then I spend 30 seconds deciding what I want to delete. Then I grab the stuff. Then I have to fly back, and then I build it. And then it's like, okay, cool. Now build this next thing. And then it's like, now you need 3 things. And it's like, no. If it was all like, if planets were more abundant, and it's like, oh, you could fly out, but like, I guarantee you that there's gonna be at least like 5 things on each planet. Or if it was like, oh, you know what? I guarantee you that all the things you need to build this can be found on this planet, then I'd be okay with it. But there's this whole, like, I have to scan 10 billion things.
Well, I mean, you talked about it, the idea of it being RNG.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of No Man's Sky. It's RNG. The planets are RNG themselves.
I understand that, but, like, the planets being RNG, I'm okay with. But the progression relying on the RNG of the planets, it feels like cheating, you know?
Oh, no, it's stupid. It's a horrible idea.
So that's really problematic. But, like, there was potential in it. Like, I wanted, and it feels weird to say, but I wanted to get those dumb resources. I felt compelled to do it, but it was such a slog to do it. I turned it off eventually because it's cool because you get your first vehicle and you can upgrade it and then you can more. And there's like a whole freighter system where you can own multiple ships in a giant spaceship that you can dock. Like, there's some cool ideas in it, but the core gameplay loop is still, like, there's too many steps to reaching your next goal, so to speak. But we'll talk about a little bit more about that game later. Like, I talked a bit extensively about it because there's a story about it coming.
All right. So let's get to those stories. Speaking of which, our first story today comes from Polygon. No author listed.
I stopped putting the authors because I just felt bad about how we mispronounced them. So you're just gonna hear the website name.
It happens. Brought to us from Polygon, the Switch chat app is turning people off. And we mean that both metaphorically and physically.
So if you haven't been paying attention, the Nintendo Switch, the way it does voice chat is through an app on your phone, which is problematic because for you to hear the person and hear the game, you need a dongle that plugs into your Switch and into your phone, and then the cables merge, and then you plug the headphones in it. So you have 3 wires to worry about.
And you have to buy the dongle.
Yeah, which isn't made by Nintendo. It's made externally by another company whose name escapes me. But here's the thing. It gets worse. We're just scratching the surface because according to this article on Polygon, they write, voice chat is only active as long as the app is open. The smartphone in use also has to be unlocked and its screen on in order for voice chat to work. If you accidentally shut your phone's screen off, your conversation is over. I want to glance at a walkthrough really quickly. If you do, that means no more voice chat. So you literally have to like turn off auto lock and like turn off screen shut off and like watch your battery die. And also, I think if you have like the headset plugged in, because it's a wire and because the iPhone doesn't have a headphone jack, you can't have the headphone and charge the phone at the same time. So,
Android is better. Fight me.
So that's happening. Also, this article, Polygon goes on to say all of this is compounded by the fact that players won't be able to get any game audio from their headset if they're plugged into their phones. Hori, that's the company, has come up with a garish workaround for this. You plug a dongle into your phone and your Switch to get both audio at once, but that setup isn't convincing Switch owners to hop onto the online app train.
Now, there was one line of all that I had some sympathy with, where if it said if you want to look at a walkthrough really quickly, that means you're no more voice chat, because it sounds outdated, and it very definitely is, but it's like, I kind of get it. You know, for a third-party company that's not Nintendo, yes, they were supposed to get it right, but, you know, that is the least offensive issue in my eyes. Everything else is like, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is not how game chat works.
The thing that's infuriating is, like, I just tried, for the first time ever, the PS4 in-game chat. of like the voice chat, because I found some people while playing Rocket League that were really good and that we teamed up with, and we started chatting over the thing, and like the PS4 camera just straight up turn on the microphone and you're good to go, and the audio was so crisp and so easy. Like I didn't have to do anything. I just said turn on microphone. And with this, it's like there's so much hassle that I don't understand. Like,
Well, it
why
wouldn't be
they would do any
Nintendo
of
if it weren't a
this.
hassle.
I think that this and this is pure speculation on my end, but let me phrase this as a question. Do you think that the app was rushed to release for Splatoon 2 and for the tournaments?
Maybe.
Because I have a strong feeling that just like the Switch, this app needed 6 more months in the oven.
Yeah, but the Switch came out, working.
Yeah,
It was missing stuff, but it came out working.
I mean, this technically it works.
This does not sound like it works.
And for the tiny sliver of game time, it works. And I'm doing air quotes during that. But I think some of the stuff that seems like technical stuff, like when you exit the app, voice chat ends. I feel like they can just patch that. So I'm not worried about that. Unless Nintendo just decides no, because they've been known to do that. The thing that I hate is the stupid dongle. And also like the thing that's so antithetical about this is like this ruins the portability of the Switch. Because now not only am I carrying my, 3-foot case with the Switch in it, it's not literally 3 feet, but
it's too big.
It's pretty big.
It's too big.
Now I have to carry like all these dongles with it. On top of which I'm already carrying like little grips for the Joy-Con when you pull them out because they're too tiny. On top of which I'm carrying those dumb like 2-button plugs that you slide on the Joy-Con when it's not connected to the Switch so that you have easier buttons. On top of which I'm carrying like a dumb thingy to undo bubbles on my scratch protector because the dog could scratch my Switch. It's like, how many stupid things do I have to carry for this thing to just work? You know what I need for my Vita? I need the Vita and I need the case, and I can put that all in my back pocket.
You won't need nearly as much with the next iteration of the Switch. The Switch Point 2. Watch it happen. Watch it happen.
Yeah.
It's happening right now. They're doing it right now. I know they are.
They're probably
The Super Switch.
the Switch 64.
Oh.
The Switch Mini. No.
Okay, now we're going too far.
But it's interesting. Although I don't know if you heard, but they have issued a patent for what looks like a N64 Mini. So we'll see how that goes.
We'll see how that. Yeah.
I'm not even excited anymore because I know I won't get one.
No,
even if I wanted to.
Nobody who wants one is gonna get one. It's just gonna be people who are like, I can probably sell this in 5 years off of eBay.
And some
For
people
a
who are
boatload
like,
of money.
Some people who are like, I just have 10 Amazon accounts and I'm just gonna resell this for 10 times the price, and Nintendo won't do anything about it.
Nope.
Alrighty, moving on. Moving on to something a little less dark and a little more happy.
Yeah, good stuff.
Dying Light gets some free DLC, and not just some free DLC.
A lot of free DLC.
This comes from GameSpot, and so I'm just gonna summarize the article a bit for you guys. The player base for Dying Light is still 500,000 players weekly for the survival horror game,
That's a huge number. That's a huge amount of players for a game that until 2 days ago I completely forgot about.
And how much did you play of Dying Light?
20 minutes, maybe.
Because I played maybe through half the campaign. It is so good. It is so much fun because it's like the first game since, or did it come around the same time as The Last of Us?
I think it came out a year later.
It was
I believe this
that and The Last of Us are probably the only games that have made me actually scared from zombies, because
The Living Dead.
In that, like, what I love about that game is you literally anywhere you can turn around and there's just gonna be a bunch of them, and you have like very little guns, very few guns, to be grammatically correct. So like
You have to get creative.
you really have to run around a bunch and run from the horde because they're actually scary, and I love that. Anyway, this free DLC, Techland will release 10 pieces. 10 pieces. Let me say that again: 10 pieces of DLC
1-0
for Dying Light over the course of the next 12 months. So it's not even that long of a wait. These expansions will include new enemies, more in-game events, new locations to explore, and much, much more. The additional content will be offered for free across all of the game's platforms. Kudos to you.
Well done, Techland. Well done. That's how you do DLC.
I appreciate them following the trend that was set by The Witcher.
The Witcher, Titanfall, just quality games have said, hey, you know what? Let's make DLC free. Let's do that.
Because they see that it is more important to build the community than it is to make a quick buck.
Yeah.
Fuck you, EA. And I understand that like DLC is hard to make. And that's sort of my question to you is this right? Because it's definitely a great pro-consumer move, but like, these developers are busting their butts making this DLC, and what are they gonna see in return? It's free,
I mean, my hope is more game sales, because now all of a sudden I have the urge to just go and maybe get Dying Light. I think it's on sale right now, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah, I've been thinking about jumping back in because, contrasting to No Man's Sky, the core gameplay loop of Dying Light is very fun and very entertaining.
Grappling hooks, parkour, and zombies. I mean,
what's there to hate about it?
Money.
Anyway, moving on.
Next story.
We had a lot to say about the Switch, by the way, because we want it to succeed, I guess.
Yes, a little bit.
Going back to No Man's Sky, I guess that was sort of a transition. From that Dying Light contrast. There's some weird No Man's Sky website that popped up, and this comes to us again from GameSpot. A mysterious website went live that allows you to type in commands and gives glimpses of some of No Man's Sky's lore. This gives me PTSD flashbacks of the Grimoire cards, not gonna lie.
Not again.
Although the thing that's cool about this, it's like you can you literally have like a code box that you type in stuff like who is Atlas, which is like this mysterious looming creature in the game.
Who is Atlas?
And it will give you like a poem. So like it's fun. It's a little fun and creative. The article goes on to say, assuming that the teased update is a major content patch, it will be the third such update since No Man's Sky released last year. The first, called the Foundation update, added base building and frigates, while the second added land vehicles.
In short, the stuff that they promised when the game was being hyped up to be released and then wasn't there when it was released. They're like, okay, we'll put it in later. Sean Marie, you and I will have a reckoning.
I'll be honest. I feel no bad blood towards Hello Games or No Man's Sky. Not I feel like the game was okay. I don't feel like it was a flying disaster. I feel that the public's reaction was only as strong because of how people's imaginations ran away with the idea of the game.
I will agree with that. But I'll also say that Hello Games does share, and Sony, and Sean Murray himself, share some of that blame. Because they were just like, if you ask them a question, can you do this in the game? They would have said yes.
Yeah, so...
Doesn't matter what it was. It's like, can I flip upside down and see my own feet in game? Yes.
There was definitely a bunch of problems from the way that the PR was handled. I'll give you that. But I think, I don't know. My expectation was that this was going to be a fun, chill game. And since I did put 20 hours into it, I had enjoyment in that game. Well, I had fun, getting bigger and bigger ships over time. And it was just a fun, chill experience for me for a while. At this point, though, it needs to refine its procedural generation. I think that's what needs to happen. Because the big problem is Even with the update, and I don't know if this was in the original, but the way the planet looks from the galaxy is much prettier than once you actually land on it. Like the way the loading sort of works is as you near the planet, it will sort of like get a little fuzzy, and then it will sort of like reveal it's the detail. But the detail is always just like a weird, it's just some weirdly colored rocks and sand, and sometimes water. Whereas like the way the planet looks from space is like a screenshot of not a screenshot. It looks like a photograph of Earth. It's just beautiful greens and blues and an atmosphere, and you're like, oh, that planet looks cool, and then you land on it, and it's just like, oh, it's just some red mountains everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I think that's that's problematic because it's misleading, and I think the biggest problem still with the game is that the planets feel dead.
Unless there are chipmunk dinosaurs on them.
Those still feel dead. They act like zombies. They act like zombies. They barely make sounds. They literally the zombies.
Accurate representation.
The zombies in Dying Light have more character than the creatures in No Man's Sky. And I'm not even gonna lie, because like you see that it's just like the same acid with a different skin on it, and it's not good, man.
No.
So that's my big gripe with it. So hopefully, if this addresses that, I think the game might
Might get a second chance at life. But
it might.
I'm not holding my breath.
Well, I mean, we'll see what happens. We've seen games have terrible releases. I just watched a whole documentary about the original Final Fantasy XIV, which was like a major disaster, and then they in secret like completely redid that game from the ground up, and now it's the second biggest MMO out there, right after World of Warcraft. So like,
What else?
if
I mean, what else was it going to be? Star Wars: The Old Republic?
yeah, that's
Elder Scrolls Online?
no, not even close.
No.
ESO is a whole problem of its own. But
For another time.
if they address the variety in that game, I might pop back in and actually start shooting up that game a bit more. Moving on.
Next story.
The last story for today.
Oh, final story.
Final story.
Final
story. I need a sound effect for that. The NPD numbers.
The voice thing that I just did.
Yeah.
We just used the screenshot of my face.
The NPD numbers for June have been released, and GameSpot sort of like summed them up a bit. Some interesting stuff here, stuff that I didn't expect based off of critics, and stuff that maybe shows that there's a disconnect between critics and players.
Well, I mean, when the critics are being bought by the publishers,
Well, that, but also like this whole like, when you play these games all the times, there's different things that you're gonna like.
Yeah.
As through like a casual gamer who picks it up once in a while. So the June 2017 top 10 games across all platforms. And some of these do not include digital sales. Number 1 is Tekken 7.
It's Tekken. It's like, what other fighting, franchise has that kind of recognition aside from Mortal Kombat?
It's just interesting
Maybe
to me because
a Capcom series?
Tekken 7 got pretty slammed in reviews. People were saying it's the same thing that it used to be years ago, which isn't enough now that games have grown. Tekken needs to grow as well. So I was like, oh, the reception might be lackluster.
Hell no.
No. And it's sort of showing like how like this disconnect again, because like Injustice 2, barely talked about, takes second spot. Then Grand Theft Auto 5.
That is the new Skyrim,
Obviously.
It's always going to show up no matter what you do.
After that, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy.
Guess who's happy about that?
4th place. Let me remind you, Crash Bandicoot was out for the month of June for 1 day. In 1 day, it claimed the 4th spot. Just gonna let that sink in real quick.
I'm currently thumbs upping the screen right now.
People are going bananas about this game. After that, ARMS, which ARMS does not include digital sales, but that's interesting. Going down the list, and stop me if you have something to say about any of these.
Not yet.
Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, Mario.
Hey, still in the top 10, still respectable.
Yeah, Mario Kart 8, then Overwatch, then NBA 2K17.
Really?
Because why not?
All right, I guess.
I mean, sports games have big pull for casual audiences. So, yeah. And then Horizon Zero Dawn, which I'm really happy about. I'm just so glad people are playing that game, man.
Always play Horizon Zero Dawn. It's a great game. I still have to beat it. God damn it, I'm so far behind.
Me too. Like, maybe we should set it as a personal goal to beat it.
By the next show? Or at least make some progress.
Like, let's say we're gonna boot it up and play it by next week. For next week,
we'll have played it again by next week.
Because that's the thing. I know once I sink 10 minutes into it, I'll be like, oh yeah, let's do this.
This is good.
So if I just let's do it right now. We'll shake hands on it. We're gonna both play it this week.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Horizon Zero Dawn. Next episode, we'll talk about it.
Okay, excellent. Some other interesting statistics from the NPD numbers. Top 10 best-selling games of 2017.
So far, I mean, there's a lot that has to come out.
Number 1, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands.
That surprises me quite a bit.
What is happening?
What?
Like
the most bland, blaze, vanilla video game to release this year, and
I think this game may be selling purely off of the like potential for you and your friends to go in and sort of make your own fun in that game.
But that's the whole point of like Destiny or Anthem when that comes out, which I'm highly looking forward to.
I disagree. I think it has that GTA 5 vibe where GTA 5, like what they add to the game isn't necessarily like, although they do add like missions and stuff, but most of what they add is like Lego pieces to your toy box. You know what I mean? So that you can take the little Lego dragon and, you know, pretend that it has all this cool stuff. So it's playing off of that. And I think Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands is
moving in that direction.
Is in that same vein where you and your friends can pretend to be super spies. And I think, you know, that I think that, you know, these types of games have more power than people expect because they show it really well when they're played by streamers.
That's true.
You know? And so then people buy it because they see, oh, this could be so much fun because these entertainers are really good at, going into GTA. Like, I just watched it. Excuse me.
He's dying.
I'm dying. I just watched a video from Funhouse where they recreated the squad from Watchmen in GTA and like pretended that they were saving the town, although they were just shooting rockets at cops. And I was like, this is incredible. I would have never thought of this, but it makes me want to put money into GTA Online, even though I know I'm not going to be able to recreate this amount of fun.
I don't.
So I think that's an infectious thing that we'll talk about. Anyway, moving on. Tom Clancy is number 1. Number 2, Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Do you think Breath of the Wild will take over Wildlands by the end of the year?
No. Here's why. Breath of the Wild is an exclusive. Wildlands is multi-platform, and while Zelda has been getting the biggest amount of praise, I think, out of anything this year. I mean, obviously there's criticism, but you know, just love it. Love Zelda. There's still, like I said, a lot of stuff that has to come out this year. We haven't gotten into the busy fall season yet. Still got Battlefront 2. Still got, I think Sea of Thieves. Is Sea of Thieves this year or next year?
I think it's next year. I'm not 100% sure.
There's a whole list of games to come out this year. One of them will take the top spot, but I don't think it's going to be Breath of the Wild, just because it is a Switch exclusive.
Really quickly, in this chart, Breath of the Wild is not accounted for digital sales.
This is true.
So it may have already taken it over. Who knows? Nintendo doesn't really like to share its That I think, or maybe it's just hard to track. I'm not sure.
I think they just don't want to do it because they don't know how computers work.
Number 3, For Honor.
Hey,
So
that's a fun game.
it's fun. And again, For Honor like shows really good for streamers, and they, UB now goes like full steam ahead for marketing through them.
Yeah, through streamers, through YouTube personalities, they're like, hey, have this game and show your audience.
Like for a while during the launch, For Honor was everywhere, so that was really interesting. After that, going down, Grand Theft Auto 5,
oh, of course,
Horizon Zero Dawn,
yes,
which warms my heart. Injustice 2 again, Mass Effect Andromeda. All right, calm it down, Ethan Klein.
fuck you, BioWare. Come on, you gotta do something better than that.
I'm very surprised. I mean, Matt, it's obviously coasting off of the trilogy that preceded.
Yeah, but it's nowhere near as good.
Yeah. The interesting part is that they did replace the general manager, so we'll see.
And the
what
writers.
happens.
And the writer. So thank God.
Yeah.
Anthem, please be good.
I mean, Anthem is the main team, so I think they wanted to move off of Mass Effect before Andromeda. I don't know if they really wanted to do more of it. I think that's why they delegated it to their second team, and that's why it was a disaster.
And that's why nobody knew what they wanted to do with it for 5 years.
Yep. Moving down, Resident Evil 7.
Yes.
Excellent. NBA 2K17, because for some reason that game won't stop freaking selling.
Sports games.
And then COD Infinite Warfare, Call of Duty, just to be clear.
Okay. Shocking.
It's probably partially due to the hostage situation with
That's true, though. That's not an issue anymore.
What's the other game?
Modern Warfare Remastered.
Modern Warfare Remastered. Yeah, but this is for 2017, not just this month.
That's true.
So I think that may have bumped Infinite Warfare up.
Not anymore.
People want it. Modern Warfare.
Not anymore.
Yeah, that's gonna drop off that list. Activision has some work to do with that franchise if they want to climb again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna be really interesting.
That ends our stories.
Yep.
Not much to talk about news-wise, so let's get into our topic of the show, which...
And you had some interesting idea about how you wanted to tackle this, so could you just talk a little bit about
Okay, so let's launch into a little bit of an interesting thing. For those of us, myself included, and for Chris, who obviously, looking at the stories, that's what he does, you might have noticed a little bit of hang on. I have lost sound.
Don't worry about it.
Come back to me, sound. Oh, there it is. Okay. You might have noticed a bit of a trend on video game websites, video game personalities on YouTube, and so on and so forth, where whenever they talk about something that isn't exclusively video games, there's a huge negative backlash. For example, just last week, Game Informer ran a short story, just no more than a stub, but a short story where they talked about the revelation of the new Doctor Who, the 13th Doctor being Jodie Whittaker, the first woman to play the role. All of the comments that weren't, the obvious controversy of, oh, it's a woman now, because, people are stupid. All of those comments that weren't about that were about, why is this on a gaming website? This has nothing to do with gaming. Just in that vein. Similarly,
and
just the other day.
Just to interject really quickly.
Yeah.
Even just gathering news stories for this week, when I looked at Polygon's website, I think the top 5 or 8 stories were about movies or TV shows. Like, I had to scroll down to get anything about games from the top stories section. And so it's like why? And I understand that you're trying to diversify their income,
which I am all for. Not just for income, but just to expose your audience to a wider range of topics and ideas. Why shouldn't you talk about something that you're interested in?
Well, the thing is that they're sort of grasping at straws because they're seeing how people are flooding in masses to YouTube reviewers and YouTube personalities, and you see the biggest names from these giant companies.
But even there, it's firing back. It's like Angry Joe. You know, he's turning off comments on his YouTube videos right now because a lot of his videos at the moment are about movies, and he recently put up a vlog where he talks about the first episode of the new season of Game of Thrones, and people have been slamming him for that. To which I say, it's his channel. He can talk about what he wants to talk about.
I mean, so like how do I explain this? Angry Joe, you're right. He can talk about whatever he wants. However, because his channel is heavily based upon gaming, people do want that content. And I understand people's frustrations. However, like, how do I explain this? For Angry Joe specifically, for the types of content that he makes, it takes a lot of time. Because similarly, Joseph Anderson, who's like a Canadian reviewer, he does these massive reviews that are sometimes 2 hours long.
Hyper detailed, incredibly, tightly written. Yeah. And he has to film it and sketch it and do the editing. So that's consuming.
It takes 1 to 2 months of work to do that, which is insane. And so it doesn't bode well for YouTube specifically, because YouTube likes constant content. They're pushing for daily stuff now.
Right. I mean, like for this, just this podcast, how long do you think this takes to edit at most?
So this podcast, the most time is in the preparation because I have to set up table and everything. So I'd say there's, for this podcast, which is one camera, just us talking.
Yep. Full setup from the start of setup to when it gets uploaded.
There's maybe an hour of preparation of these sheets, of the sheets that have all the notes and the stories and everything. There at least an hour. There's at least an hour of like setting up the microphones and the table and the backdrop, because I can't have this set up all the time because I gotta live in this because it's my room.
It is your room.
And then we take an hour to record, and then I take edit is relatively quick because it's just one camera. That's why it's set up that way.
Yeah, it's just syncing the audio.
So edit is mostly syncing the audio and doing a couple tweaks to the beginning and the end. But then the upload takes another 2 hours. And then it takes probably another hour to figure out, all right, what's the best thumbnail, title? Like, how do I best package this video in a way that's clickable?
Behind the scenes look with Chris.
So that's and I don't mean clickable as in clickbait. I mean like in some place that like piques your interest among the sea of videos that you get in your homepage.
Yeah. That looks like something I would like to watch.
Yeah,
that's exactly what he means.
So something like that. So that's altogether what I counted, maybe 6 hours.
6, maybe 8 tops, depending on how much editing has to get done.
And that all
can be spread out over the course of a couple of days.
Well, this is all happening over a couple of days, but that is for a one camera show that is 1 hour that's not doing anything. That's kind of like Angry Joe's, like Game of Thrones discussion, or like a film review.
So imagine that happens.
You can watch a movie in 2 hours, but Joseph Anderson has said it takes him, he sometimes does a complete playthrough of the game twice so that he can properly experience it, then write the script, and then like edit it heavily. It takes a lot of time, and
I would say that's at the very least of nonstop work and editing. That's probably a week.
Yeah, and so what a lot of these channels turn into are either uploading once every 2 months, like Joseph Anderson, or doing what it's a bad term, but what I call filler content, or like some people call filler content, which is like, in the meantime, between reviews, I'm gonna post a movie review because that's easier to do, and it's gonna keep my audience engaged. Because the problem is like, once you don't post for a while, you disappear from people's feeds.
Start to forget about it.
So then even if you upload again, you need to upload several times to like slowly gain back the momentum. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, you'll have a lot of inactive subscribers, which is like really bad.
Awful.
Because it costs you a bunch of money.
Awful as YouTube. So that's where we, as us people who are on YouTube and who work with the internet culture, sympathize with Joe. At least that's where I sympathize with Joe.
Right.
I mean, and I think the gaming outlets, I think IGN, Polygon, GameSpot, Game Informer, all those sites, I think they need to diversify because not everything is going to have great gaming related news every day. And there aren't going to be, enough of the AAA releases or even notable releases. I mean, we had this problem when we were trying to decide releases for today, which we'll get to in a little bit.
I think to like the sorry, I'm rambling a little bit because it's hard to formulate my thoughts on this because it's like kind of personal, so I don't want to like overstep my boundaries. But what I'm trying to say is, like, to me the most important thing is clarity.
Mhm.
Like, when I type polygon.com, I don't want to scroll down through past the movie reviews into the gaming stuff. Like, it should be in its own section, or like maybe off to the side. It's kind of like when you click a YouTube channel, the first thing you want to see is the thing that they're most known for, and then going down, the other stuff that people might be interested in.
Hence the highlighted video at the start of the YouTube channel.
And like, the problem does become that for the big companies is that they're seen as these giant like corporate buildings full of like people that you don't know, so you don't know how, like, what this reviewer's context is for the review of this game, and it becomes a problem with trying to see how that review relates to you, because you can't match your taste to their taste. Whereas compared to YouTube personalities, you can
They're very well
totally
defined from the beginning.
Yeah, you can totally like. I know that Total Biscuit freaking hates platformers.
He does.
So if I ever hear him, and God have mercy if I do, because that will be life-changing, but if I ever hear him say, hey, I played this platformer and I liked it, I'll be like, instant buy, because
Instant buy, yeah.
he hates it.
That's a great game.
If he likes it, it must be transcendent.
It must have done something really good.
Yeah, so and so I think that's the problem, is like, you have to diversify, you have to keep the click machine and the YouTube machine going, and it becomes but on the other hand, it muddies the waters for people who just come for, say, the Jimquisition for Jim Sterling channel. I don't really watch any of his other stuff, I just want the Jimquisition.
Yeah.
But then others of these 4 other Jimpressions that I really don't know what they are. Whereas
at the same time,
like, I have to find the thing.
At the same time, you're encouraged to try those new things that you might not have seen before, which I'm all for. I've watched a few Jimpressions. I don't always agree with them. I don't always think they're that interesting, but hey, it's more stuff that I can watch to fill my time when there's not a Jimquisition out.
And I understand that, but I wish there was, like, I wish you could tell YouTube, hey, I'm a once in a while kind of guy, or hey, I'm a once a week kind of guy, or hey, I'm a daily guy. If there was a way to diversify that, so that because like YouTube used to treat people largely based off of like their big hits. So like, the reason that a lot of these channels are successful is when you get a couple big hits, that back catalog makes you money because the evergreen content keeps going. Or for the news people, because they're making so much stuff that's related to current events.
Yeah.
That keeps generating a lot of income from a lot of content that's rapidly incoming, like reviewers and stuff. But with how YouTube has changed, like, the back catalog matters a lot less, and it's a lot about the current stuff.
Yeah.
So all the people who had evergreen content were like, my ad revenue's like tanking. Patreon is a possibility for some, but
GoFundMe.
I
mean, there's no perfect solution now, because it is, by the very nature of the site and the way it works, YouTube is a fine balancing act.
Right.
You have to give people the content that they want, but if it's time, expensive content like Angry Joe makes, and you start to fill that in with stuff that maybe people aren't as interested in, you might get some backlash. And while I think that the solution of disabling comments is a bit more of a sledgehammer solution to a problem that needs a scalpel, I can understand.
It's the tough part is that like, YouTube could solve this, but I also understand on their side it's this giant machine, so like nobody really knows how to do this properly because it's so big. Like you don't want to mess it up. Um because like that will cost them so much money. But it becomes this whole thing of if you want to make more high quality stuff that takes more time and is less frequent, even Patreon becomes difficult to do because Patreon is on a monthly basis, so you still need monthly content.
Yeah.
Which is
Doable
for most, but Joseph Anderson, for example, takes usually, for the big stuff, more than that, 2 months, sometimes 3. So it still becomes not viable. And for those people, what they tend to push is merch, books, t-shirts, stuff like that, because that could be a constant stream of revenue for those people so that they could, get the funding they need for their shows. And not have to do Patreon, and maybe they're not comfortable with that, with like having this, you have to be okay with having this deep, intimate level of connection with your audience to run a Patreon.
I'm okay with that. Personally, just saying.
Yeah, but some people aren't.
Money.
So there's got to be avenues. There's got to be avenues for them to be successful on YouTube. And YouTube, the problem I have is YouTube really right now
does not care.
Does not care. Yeah.
Nope.
They're pushing the content that they want to push, and that's it.
Yeah. YouTube Red.
Yeah, YouTube Red. They want to be Netflix, which is so weird.
No, let Netflix do its own thing. Let Netflix make its own stuff. What are words?
It don't matter. Soon enough, we'll all be in Verizon's ecosystem once net neutrality dies.
Great.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Okay.
All right, that was topic of the show.
Topic of the show. That's a sombering note to end off on. Let's talk about releases.
Let's do this.
Not really much to talk about in the way of releases this week. It's a lot of, again, smaller stuff releasing either in other countries for the first time, or it's, releases getting their own releases overseas, and just small stuff on Steam or on mobile. But we did pick out a couple of good, interesting things off of GameSpot's list of the releases for the week of July. I almost said June. I'm an idiot. July 23rd to July 29th. These are all coming out on Tuesday the 25th, so keep an eye out for these. First up is Fortnite. Now, this is a game that's been in development for quite some time. I believe it was first announced Gamescom 2013?
Ooh,
around that time?
I don't know much about this game.
It's more or less somewhere around there. It's been in the back burner of everybody's mind if you had heard the announcement for a while, because Epic, who's one of the two developers behind it, the other one is People Can Fly, and that combination makes me happy because they made Bulletstorm, which I loved. Bulletstorm is a great game. I love Bulletstorm. This is their flagship game, or their first game to be made from the ground up in Unreal Engine 4.
And so what's like the gameplay look like?
The gameplay is actually, you probably really like this. It's a co-op third-person shooter with scavenging, looting, and survivalist elements so that you can, at night, build a base and do tower defense.
That sounds interesting, and that sounds like they're juggling a lot of balls in the air.
Oh yeah, but I mean, it's exactly what they did for Gears of War.
Interesting.
So it's Gears of War, but it's got a very cartoony, very fun, very light art style.
Sounds cool.
It looks like fun to play. I haven't really been that excited for it. I'm just like, this is what you're going with for Unreal 4. But hey, if it's a good game, I might pick it up. So look out for Fortnite. Also on the 25th are 2 pieces of DLC. Now, I don't really want to give too much, light to DLC because in principle, I'm kind of against it. But I mean, these are solid games on their own. You have Neverwinter. That's the Dungeons and Dragons online MMO. It's getting another expansion called Tomb of Annihilation. I have no idea what this is about, but people tell me that Neverwinter's pretty fun. We also have the first piece of DLC for Mafia 3 called Sign of the Times. Now, I'm hoping this is single-player DLC because I think Mafia 3 is just a straight-up single-player game.
Mafia 3 is just Man, that game makes me so sad.
Yeah.
Um, because Mafia 2 I loved so much.
Mafia 2 is a
and
great game.
3 is just it's too far in the past at this point.
Yeah. But you know what? There's always another chance. You could always do it again and it might actually work.
Mm-hmm.
There's never a time where you say, I can't do this. It can work. So
Yeah.
hopefully, they do the Destiny thing and make DLC that is good.
Yeah. Hopefully bring some life back into that game.
Always hope. Always have hope.
Alrighty, let's move on.
That's it.
Oh, so by the way, just to give you some context, we don't do all the releases. We just pick things that are interesting to us personally. You may agree, you may disagree. That's your opinion. Let us keep ours. If you have a game that you think is fun that's coming out, leave it in the comments.
Yeah, and I didn't see anything. There's some VR stuff that I don't care about because I don't have an Oculus or a Vive. Or
I think recently Super Hot stuff came out to VR.
Okay, there you go. Super Hot VR,
which apparently is the best VR game.
I mean, it's super hot. It's amazing because
like the whole the whole concept that you feel like a badass is so amplified when you can actually dodge the bullet.
Yeah, it's like
this is freaking Neo from the Matrix in real life.
I know kung fu. Whoa.
Alrighty. Those are the releases, and we have come to the end of the show. Where's my end of the show notes? Oh, right here. There we go.
Down at the bottom of that sheet.
So thank you so much for watching this episode of Button Mashers.
Episode
7, which is a podcast that brings you some video game news and releases, and we gush about games a bunch. I'm Chris.
I'm Connor.
And it's been a pleasure to have guided you through this episode with us. You can find us both on Twitter. I am at @TheVanillaChris.
And I am Connor, at Connor A. Hamm. That's HAMME.
And if you enjoy this podcast, feel free to give it a subscribe, whether that's on SoundCloud or on iTunes or whatever podcasting device you do, or on YouTube under the name of Game of Dorks. That's where we release the podcast every Monday.
Except for last Monday, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah. And that's it. Thanks so much for watching again. We really appreciate it. And we will see you again next week.
Stay beautiful, folks. Bye. Bye.